Hi everybody, I want to talk to you all about today's Desmos activity. So today's Desmos activity is a practice of 5.1, which was about graphing lines in slope-intercept form. So today we're going to practice that, but I want to show you one new thing that we can do to make sure that we are correct after we graph our line. So if you're looking at the Desmos screen 1 here, the directions are simple. Just complete all the slides and mark it done on Google Classroom, okay? So I'm going to do two of them with you, and I'm going to show you how you can check your answer on the Desmos graphing calculator. So for slide number 2, this is what I'm going to do with you, okay? So the directions are asking you to graph the linear equation using slope-intercept form. So remember, when we are graphing lines that are in the form y equals mx plus b, I apologize for my bad handwriting, but remember, m, that's our slope, and b, that's our y-intercept. We're always going to begin with b. Okay, both of those start with b. Our y-intercept is -3. So what we're going to do is we're going to find -3 on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3. Put a dot. And now we're going to use our slope to figure out if we're going to go up, down, left, right, and how many units. Okay, so our slope is positive 1 over 4. So since it's positive 1 over 4, not negative, positive, I'm going to go up 1, to the right 4. So I'm going to count from my y-intercept. I'm going to go up 1, right 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to put a dot. And now I'm just going to connect my points. Make sure you put an arrow on both ends. I know we didn't really talk about arrows yesterday as much, but technically you need to put an arrow on both ends to make sure that you're correct. Now, after you graph your line, you can check to see if your line is correct by using the Desmos graphing calculator. So if you click on the Desmos graphing calculator, and in this cell that pops up, you type the equation in, which was 1 over 4x minus 3. You have to type in y equals 1 over 4. So to get the division or to get the fraction, again, you're going to hit the slash next to shift. So 1 over 4 x minus 1. 3, I'm sorry, minus 3. And now this is the graph that comes up. So now when you look at this graph, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can click and drag, but more importantly, you can check some important things based on what you graph. So your graph, you started at the point 0, 3. So if you take a look at the Desmos graphing calculator, you can check and say, okay, the point 0, 3 is on my graph. I know that because I graphed it and now it's there. So now I also know that the point 4 comma -2 is on there. So I can check to see if the point 4 comma -2 is by clicking on this dot and moving it and seeing, okay, boom, 4 -2, that's on my graph. Okay, so you can click and drag, and once you get it perfectly on 4 -2, once you get it perfectly on two numbers that are integers, it'll stop and it'll kind of pause and tell you, okay, this point's on the graph. And now you know that your graph is correct because we have the right y-intercept. We looked and we say, okay, we have 4, -2, and now we're done, okay? So you can use your Desmos graphing calculator to check your answers for any of the problems on whenever you're graphing a line. So let's do one more together. So here we have y equals -5 over 3x plus 4. So our y-intercept is positive 4, and our slope is -5 over 3. So now since our slope is negative, we're going to go down and to the right. So we're going to go to 4 on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a dot. And then we're going to count down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the right. 1, 2, 3. And put a dot. Okay, now we are going to connect our lines. We can connect them using this line tool, or we can sketch. It doesn't really matter. Just please make sure that when you sketch, you put an arrow on both ends so you are technically correct. Now, I'm going to check on my Desmos graphing calculator to see if we're correct. So I'm going to delete this. And in my Desmos graphing calculator, I'm going to type in my equation, -5 over 3x plus 4. Don't forget the y equals. Y equals -5 divided by 3. Now, when you put the x in, you have to arrow to the right and type in x. If you type in x here, you're going to get the wrong answer. Look, that's not a line. You have to arrow to the right and hit x. And then we have minus, what was it? Minus, or plus 4. Right? Now, if I look, it's not really in my frame, so I can click and drag, I can zoom out, I can zoom in, whatever the case may be. Now let's take 2 points. We know that the point 0, 4 is on the graph that we drew. So if I click right here, boom, 0, 4, that's on my graph. Now another point that I know is going to be on the graph is 3, -1. So let's check to see if that is on my graph. 3, -1 is right here, boom. Okay, so I can check to see that the 2 points that I plotted are on my Desmos graphing. Are on my line when I graph it with the Desmos graphing calculator. And so pretty much we can always check our answers whenever we're graphing a line. Okay, so your task right now is to complete the rest on your own. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us.